This is the updated button over buckle video with sit to stand. So you can't exactly see my feet here, but I've got them flat on the ground like so. I want to think about the tripods if I can. If this is something we've gone over, it would be helpful to remember this. Your heel, pinky toe, knuckle, big toe, knuckle, which on the foot is a little bit up here because the toes are much shorter than our fingers. So just keep that in mind. You want to think about tripods in the feet. You want to think about like kind of a tripod through your hips, pelvis, and your legs. And that's kind of the idea, is that if you have most of your weight through your pelvis, if you have your feet on the ground, it creates more of a tripod effect, which ultimately gives you more control, more leverage, more ability to hold yourself up with less effort. Just makes it more efficient and more effective in preparing yourself also for getting up into a sit to stand transfer, so you can get up and get your balance and start walking and do other things. So if we're slouched back here, this is not a good position to be able to get up from. You want to think about where my button is here, that you can see pretty clearly, I think, in the video there. That's kind of where your sternum is. Think of that as like where your center of weight is, your center of mass. Base of support, when I'm sitting, it's going to be like about where my buckle is, so the front of the pelvis, so a button over buckle. When I go to stand, I want to get my weight over in line with the arch, right in between the arches of my 2 feet, because that's where my stability is and my balance once I'm standing. Once I'm fully standing, it'll be the button, the buckle, and the boots. The area between the arches there, just call it boots. So it's 3 B's, easy to remember: button, buckle, boots. And those will all be aligned when I'm standing. And that will have my balance, my weight pretty well balanced, as a reminder, okay, or visual. So I'm gonna start here. I wanna make sure my button is kind of right over my belt buckle, the front of the pelvis. And at that point, I should feel a little bit of weight in my feet, not a ton, but enough to feel like my feet are pretty well connected to the ground. Again, feet are flat here. I wanna make sure I can kind of hold myself up and kind of relax somewhat into that, so I feel like I'm supported from my own muscles and not necessarily needing the back of a chair. That's really a good practice to be in. It doesn't have to be perfect, like military posture. It just has to be enough support so that you're comfortable and ready to sit to stand, and also feeling like if you do have like low back pain or something like that, that you're not collapsing into that pain. So here we go for the transfer. It's basically your button over your boots, or the arches right between those arches. I want to make sure that I slide forward enough, as much as I can, to get my weight forward. I also want to slide my feet back as far as I can without the heels coming off the ground, or without any kind of pain in my knees or ankles. So once I've done that, keeping everything kind of square and flush here, I can get imagine an elevator shaft here. We're coming right between the arches, get my weight there, and I want to keep it there. I can use my hands, but I don't want to use my hands to lift, because that's not what our arms are for. But I can use my hands, even on the chair here on the table I'm sitting on, but I prefer to put it on my knees, so I feel like I'm completely in control here and it's all me, and not like I'm not dependent on something else. So you'll always have your knees with you. Sometimes chairs have arms, sometimes they don't. So this is more dependable and more consistent. So I'm gonna use my arms not to lift up, I'm gonna use my arms to help guide my weight forward, to get and keep my weight over my feet. And that way I also feel more secure and comfortable knowing that my hands are on something, and I'll feel more stable. So I'm gonna guide and hold myself here as I pull forward with the arms like a row, and then I'm gonna push down through my feet, my heels, those tripods, especially my rear end to my heels, and lift up, straight up that elevator shaft to the top. And then when I come down, I also stay in the elevator shaft, and a nice soft controlled landing, because my hips are back behind me, but my weight stays over my feet. That's the thing. You got to keep that center in the elevator shaft between those 2 feet, and that's pretty much it.